Welcome to Staffworks Explained. In this video, we turn our attention to one of the Kenya's most ambitious infrastructure projects, a project that promised to change the country's energy and agricultural future, but now lies in the ruins. This is the story of the High Grand Falls Dam and hydroelectric power project. From the very beginning, this project carried a sense of ambition. Planned along the Tana River, which is the longest river in Kenya, at the border of Kitui and Tharaka Nithi counties, two counties in the eastern region of Kenya. The dam was envisioned as nothing less than a national game changer. If completed, it would have been Africa's second largest fresh reservoir, second only to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. It was designed to generate a staggering 1,000 megawatts of electricity. Although it was being constructed in phases, it was supposed to irrigate vast tracts of farmland, supply water to thousands of farmlands of households, as well as control devastating floods that characterized this river, Tana River, during the heavy rain season. For a local community, or local communities for that matter, it promised jobs. For farmers, they promised water and clean water for that matter. For the government, it was to be a jewel in the crown of Vision 2030. And for the Kenya as a whole, it was to be a bold statement that this country could deliver mega projects on par with other countries. But where did it all begin? This project. The idea behind, or the idea of High Grand Falls, can be dated back to almost 20 years, but it resurfaced strongly in the 2010s, where it was woven in the Kenya long-term development plan of Vision 2030, and the country's growing demand for electricity and irrigation. The dam made sense, especially on paper, because of its sheer size and cost, more than 300,000 billion shillings. The government chose a public-private partnership financing model. Private investors would bring in their capital, their expertise, and then the state was to provide support and guarantees. After years of discussions and proposals, the contract was awarded to a UK-based consortium called GBM Limited, working with international engineering and irrigation partners. But from the very start, there were whispers about how the selection was made, whispers about the political influence that surrounded the whole procurement process, as well as whispers about the shifting behind the closed doors. Despite the intrigue, the promises rolled out. Kenya were told that this dam would revolutionize power supply, it would boost agriculture, and lift many communities out of poverty. The project was pitched as both a technical marvel as well as a social lifeline. Yet, as every project manager knows, ambition must meet reality, and reality was complicated in this case. The price tag was massive, and Kenya debt levels were already high. Financing proved difficult, and investors were cautious. Environmental activists raised red flags. Communities were up in arms. Environmentalists were warning that downstream ecosystem and even Lamu Port would suffer. Engineers pointed out that combining power generation, irrigation, as well as flood control in one design, carried initial risks. And still, the project plans rolled on. GBM says it procured almost $1 billion in feasibility studies and designs, and they are claiming back this money. Meetings were held, communities were engaged, and the hope began to build. Then came July 2025. The Treasury announced that the High Grand project was cancelled. The reason? GBM submissions had failed to meet the requirements of the Public-Private Partnership Act. The official report cited weak feasibility documents as well as gap in compliance. Now, on the face of that explanation, sounds solid. If a project technical foundation is flawed, cancellation is the responsible decision. But here is a critical question. How did this project reach such an advanced stage, absorbing years of billions before the axe fell? If feasibility studies were inadequate, why were they not rejected years earlier? Was this truly about compliance, or was it about shifting political interest? Some observers believe that the latter is the truth. The cancellation has unleashed serious repercussions, and we see these repercussions. For GBM, to start with, the loss is huge. The consortium claims nearly $1 billion in sunk cost and in preparation of this dam, and they are preparing to demand for compensation. For Kenya, the risk is twofold. First, the country must face billions in damage if GBM takes the case to international arbitration. Second, Kenya loses valuable time. The power, the irrigation, as well as the jobs and the water that was to come from this dam, all has been pushed further into uncertain time. For communities along Tana River, the dream has evaporated, at least for now. Farmers who hoped for reliable irrigation are back to waiting. Young people who expected jobs now face disappointment. And for the investors around the world, the message is troubling. If a government cancels or can cancel such a flagship PPP halfway through, what confidence remains for others who are considering Kenya as an investment destination? So what happened next? The path of open conflict is clear. GBM could head straight to arbitration, could go to Washington or London Court of International Arbitration, and to demand compensation for the lost investment. The battle could drag on for years, and Kenya could end up paying dearly. But there is another path, and that path is mediation. Through mediation, both sides can sit at the table, acknowledge mistakes, and seek compromise. Kenya must protect its public finances and defend regulatory standards. GBM on its side must protect its investment and reputation. Mediation could deliver the middle ground. Perhaps partial compensation, perhaps involvement in a restructured plan, or perhaps a dignified exit that avoids protracted court battles, which will end up delaying the project. So what are the lessons here? Lessons from every policymaker, project manager, and also investor must heed or learn. First, you need to do your homework before the headlines. You should not announce a mega project before technical or financial and environmental feasibility is complete, as happened here. Second, keep procurement transparent. When selection processes are clouded by intrigue, credibility will suffer. Then third, respect investor confidence. And this we are going to cover at least in details. If agreement can collapse midstream, future partners will not only walk away, but those who remain will inevitably demand higher returns to cover the risks. And make no mistake, this will happen for this project. When investors see uncertainty, they put a price on it. They add what we can call Kenya premium risk, or Kenya risk premium. And the direct consequences of this is that projects here will become more expensive than they should be. Now, it is already widely acknowledged that corruption inflates projects in Kenya. We have seen deals where prices are paddled deliberately, where figures are massaged to create room for theft, and where public ends up paying far more than they're supposed to pay, or even the actual cost of delivery. But beyond corruption, there's another structural reason why Kenya projects are so costly. That is lack of consistency and trust in government commitments. Investors, contractors, name them, financiers, they all factor in the risk that halfway through the project, it may be cancelled, or it may even be redesigned, or even politicized. They anticipate delays, dispute, and even outright collapse. And to protect themselves, they demand high returns or front load their cost. The outcome, Kenyans pay more than they need to for infrastructure projects, especially when you compare them to neighboring countries. Take the standard gauge railway, for example, SGR, as a case point. Ethiopia built its SGR at a significantly lower cost per kilometer. Tanzania, our neighbor, is building a modern SGR at a cost that are far more competitive. Yet, Kenya's SGR stands out as one of the most expensive in the continent. Yes, and part of it is corruption. But that part is exactly where this problem is. Investors view Kenya as unpredictable, and this unpredictability comes with a price tag. Our project will be costly. So when we cancel projects like it has happened in High Grand Falls Dam without credible, transparent as well as timely reasons, we reinforce the very perception that makes investment in Kenya more expensive than it should be. And finally, in these lessons, the fourth lesson that can be learned, we say that build in clear conflict resolution pathways. Mediation clauses in PPP contracts are not just legal niceties. They are safety nets when partnership stumble. So in conclusion, we can say that the High Grand Falls project may be gone, but it's a story that is not over. It's a cautionary tale of ambition without discipline, of governance gaps that swallowed billions, and the high price of mismanaging partnership. Yet, if Kenya can handle this dispute with fairness, transparency, and diplomacy, it can salvage not just investor trust, but it also can manage its reputation as a serious destination for infrastructure investment. Because ultimately, national progress is not measured by the size of promises that we make or are made, but by the integrity of the promises that are kept. So thank you for reaching this far. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also, hit the notification bell so that whenever we upload a new video, you are notified. You can also like, share, and leave your comment. Thank you.